Together we murdered a king.
Do you know what a perfect crime is? You think that's the one that is never solved? That's not true. It's one that is solved, but with the wrong culprit, and the case is closed forever. Olenna and Littlefinger managed to do exactly that. But how? They barely knew each other. And not only did they get rid of Joffrey without anyone suspecting them, but also extracted Sansa. Today I'm going to show you how this plan was actually a collection of carefully arranged little details, each serving its own purpose, and pushing the odds further in their favor.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
Until all of them combined to make the whole thing work. And trust me, there is much more to it than Olenna taking the poisoned stone from Sansa's necklace. First of all, how did they even think of it? Murdering a king is not something you casually bring up in small talk. Just approaching someone and suggesting it is already treason. We don't know who contacted whom, but my money is on Littlefinger, because Littlefinger's entire strategy is about making himself useful at exactly the right moment. Littlefinger has spies everywhere. Most likely he knew Olenna had spoken to Sansa, and it wouldn't take much to figure out what they were discussing, Joffrey, and what kind of husband he would be to Marjorie. He knew Olenna wouldn't want Marjorie to have such a husband, but she still needed the Lannister alliance, so the obvious choice would be to get rid of Joffrey and marry Marjorie to Tommen instead. And Olenna could not do that alone. That's where Littlefinger comes in. He doesn't come to her offering treason. He comes offering a solution to a problem she already has. But why did Littlefinger himself need Joffrey dead? He tells us himself.
But Joffrey, the vicious boy with a crown on his head, is not a reliable ally.
So two powerful and very smart people shared the same goal. Sounds pretty bad for Joffrey already, right? Anyway, they got in touch, and together they started putting the plan in motion. And that plan is actually a masterpiece. Joffrey's murder was the main goal, but there was another one. The key to the north, Sansa Stark. She was not the priority, but they wanted to extract her if possible. And here comes Ser Dontos. But his job wasn't to take her to Littlefinger. Not yet. First, he gives her the necklace. As we now know, it contains a poison. But why wouldn't Littlefinger just give the poison directly to Olenna and tell Dontos to extract Sansa afterward? What if Sansa didn't wear the necklace to the wedding? The point is they need to keep Littlefinger and Olenna completely disconnected. Remember, Littlefinger isn't even there officially. Passing the poison directly from one conspirator to another creates an unnecessary connection. What if the courier gets caught? What if something goes wrong? It is incredibly unlikely, but it's possible. And Olenna keeping a deadly poison until Joffrey's wedding is another unnecessary risk. It's evidence. Again, the chances of anyone finding it are tiny. But why take that chance when there's a much better way? Dontos gives Sansa a necklace, along with a sentimental story about his house.
All that's left of those days, thanks to a few sad, fat drunks like me.
Nothing seems suspicious. Sansa saved his life, and his story makes perfect sense. Why would Littlefinger trust Dontos with something that important? Well, most likely he knows only the bare minimum. He was offered an immense amount of money.
10,000, was it?
10,000.
And he has absolutely no reason to be loyal to Joffrey. And even if he says something, who would believe a drunk? But how could they be sure Sansa would actually wear the necklace to the wedding? Well, they couldn't, but they could make a pretty good guess. What else would Sansa wear? Joffrey's presents? I don't think so. And Dontos would be at the wedding. Wearing the necklace he supposedly gave her as a precious family heirloom would be a natural gesture of respect.
I'll wear it with pride, Sir Dontos.
And again, it's a nice necklace, so why not? And the most important part is that up until the moment the stone goes into Joffrey's goblet, it's just a jewel. But there is something else. By giving that supposedly precious jewel to Sansa, he shows that he remembers what she did and that he feels indebted to her.
Maybe a fool, but I'm a living fool, thanks to you.
And that will play an important role later. So now they have the poison, the victim, and a way to keep themselves disconnected from both. The only thing left is the execution. And it's even more brilliant than you might think. If you like our little investigation so far, please like and subscribe. Thank you. Before Joffrey is poisoned, Olenna and Littlefinger must figure out one very important thing. Imagine a wedding. Everyone is celebrating and suddenly a king chokes and dies. Looks suspicious, Of course, what happens next? An investigation. And we know how justice works in King's Landing. Interrogations, torture, all that lovely stuff. And sooner or later they might squeeze something out of Dontos, discover his suspicious connection to Littlefinger, or stumble onto something else entirely. Better give them not just a crime to investigate, but a culprit to blame. Did they plan to frame Tyrion from the start? We'll get to that very soon. So, how do they arrange a scapegoat? And this is where Littlefinger's true genius comes into play. The wedding starts to look almost like a staged performance, with Littlefinger pulling some very important strings and using Joffrey's worst instincts against him. He creates a situation where a conflict is almost guaranteed. And here comes the dwarf play.
I give you King Joffrey!
Joffrey adores this kind of stuff. Just look at how much he enjoys it. But do you really think he's the one who came up with this idea? Come on. Joffrey is incapable of planning something like this. He's too stupid. Of course, the play itself is also stupid, but psychologically, it's an incredibly effective provocation. Think about it. The performance isn't funny at all, but it manages to insult almost everyone. The Starks, Renly, and therefore Loras, Robert, Tyrion, and by extension, everyone who respects or cares about any of them. It creates multiple potential flashpoints at once. After this performance, half the wedding is boiling. But that is not all. Littlefinger knows Joffrey's psychology inside and out. He knows that after watching all that cruelty and humiliation, Joffrey is very likely to escalate and crave even more. And all of this is perfectly consistent with Littlefinger's usual strategy: I don't push the knife, I just make sure it's lying on the table. So most likely, Littlefinger arranges the performance, presents the idea to Joffrey, and Joffrey grabs it immediately. And the situation unfolds beautifully in their favor. Joffrey humiliates Tyrion.
I said, Nia!
The conflict is there, and now Olenna just needs an opportunity to get the poison into Joffrey's goblet. Of course, you know how she gets the poison from Sansa's necklace. It's been covered a million times in other videos. But in case you forgot, here's the moment. Olenna has a hand in planning the wedding too. And this giant pie is likely her contribution to the plan. She needs just one moment when everyone is looking in another direction.
When a magician waves his hand and says, "This is where the magic is happening," the real trick is happening somewhere else.
A bunch of pigeons suddenly flying out of a giant pie is more than enough. Everyone is watching the spectacle. Nobody is looking at Olenna. Look at her face as she follows the poisoned goblet. But how could they possibly know that the conflict would unfold exactly like this?
Hurry up, this pie is dry.
That the goblet would end up within Olenna's reach? That Tyrion would be serving Joffrey? And so on? They didn't. They simply set the stage and let the show play out. If it isn't Tyrion, someone else can become the target. Joffrey is going to humiliate or provoke someone. If it's Tyrion, perfect. If it's someone else, Olenna adapts. She acts according to the situation. If she can't poison the wine at that exact moment, she waits for another opportunity. Perhaps she has more distractions in store in case the pie doesn't work. That's the genius of the plan. They don't predict every move. They keep pushing the odds in their favor until an opportunity appears. But what about Sansa? How can they be sure Dontos will manage to get her out of this mess? Again, they don't, but they know one thing. Once Joffrey starts choking, there is a narrow window of total confusion. Most likely, just a few seconds. And Dontos is probably given one simple instruction. When the mess starts, take Sansa and run. Sansa is smart enough to understand that following him is safer than staying. By the way, if you haven't watched my video about Sansa and her perfect survival strategy, make sure you do. I'll put a link in the description. That's one of the reasons she is the perfect candidate to wear the necklace. If she escapes, she can't simply come back. Her disappearance already makes her look suspicious, and the necklace ties her to the murder even more strongly, and Littlefinger deliberately leaves the necklace on Dontos' body. Yes, poor Dontos dies. Did Littlefinger plan it from the start? Of course he did, and he explains why.
Money buys a man's silence for a time. A bolt in the heart buys it forever.
Dontos is expendable from the very beginning. Once his job is done, he becomes nothing but a loose end. And if for some reason the extraction doesn't work, Sansa herself still knows nothing. To her, the necklace is just a necklace. Sansa ended up with Littlefinger, but why? Didn't Olenna want the key to the north for herself too?
You've taken an interest in Sansa Stark.
Have I?
Of course, but apparently Sansa was a bargaining chip Olenna was willing to give up. By the way, did you know that by getting her and starting the new game in the north, Littlefinger literally signed up his own death sentence? I have a video about it too. Make sure you watch it. So in the end, they both get what they want. And the best part? The murder is already solved. Cersei points at Tyrion almost immediately. Everyone has seen their conflict. Tyrion has handled the goblet, and his wife fled the wedding immediately after Joffrey's murder. But doesn't it all seem almost too obvious to be true? And if you think about it for just one more minute, it becomes clear that Tyrion would never do it like this. Tyrion is hated by his family, but even they know he's anything but an idiot. If he wanted to murder Joffrey, would he really do it in front of the largest audience possible? Was he carrying a rare and deadly poison in his pocket just in case? And after poisoning Joffrey, would he really stand there holding the goblet? And this is where the last piece of the puzzle clicks into place, making this murder one of the best crimes in TV history. A perfect crime doesn't mean everyone has to believe the wrong person did it. It just needs to make it convenient for everyone to accept that version of the story. I'm pretty sure Tywin knows Tyrion had nothing to do with Joffrey's murder. And I'll go even further. I strongly suspect he could guess that Olenna was involved. But Olenna and Littlefinger know something else. Joffrey is a nuisance to almost everyone, including Tywin. And his death isn't going to break many hearts.
A vicious boy with a crown on his head is not a reliable ally.
So who is really going to dig deeper? And why would they? They don't need everyone to believe Tyrion did it. They just need a scapegoat good enough to close the case. And Tyrion is perfect. Olenna and Littlefinger couldn't know for sure that Tyrion would become the scapegoat, but they could stack the odds in that direction. They knew Tyrion had a conflict with Joffrey a while ago and openly threatened him.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now kings are dying like flies.
They arranged the dwarf play, which targeted many people, but Tyrion most of all. And they knew Joffrey hadn't forgotten his humiliation in the council chamber.
I am the king! I will punish you.
By the way, if you want a breakdown of this scene, watch my video about Joffrey. And most importantly, there is almost no one with enough power who actually wants to step up for Tyrion. His family hates him.
You who killed your mother to come into the world, you are an ill-made, spiteful little creature.
Tywin grabs the opportunity to use the situation to get Jaime out of the Kingsguard.
I'll take my place as your son and heir if you let Tyrion live. Done.
Tyrion is alone. Almost alone. The case isn't left unsolved. It's solved with the wrong culprit. A perfect crime. But if Olenna knew what was coming next, perhaps she should have saved one more stone for Cersei's goblet, don't you think? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.